second grade, it's Miss Hang again with our next reading lesson. Today we are going to be working on lesson 1 in your packet. It's called Ask and Answer Questions About Key Details. So if you want to work along with me, you're going to need your reading packet and you're going to need a pencil or something to write with. We are going to be starting on page 10 to see the directions. It's talking about asking and answering questions to find key details. So throughout this whole packet, we're going to be focusing on those question words that we learned: who, what, when, where, why, how. We're going to be asking our own questions and answering them so that we can find those key details, those important parts of the story, and then we can better understand the story and what the author is trying to tell us. So on page 10, there's a picture of a bird's nest with some birds in it, and it asks you, what questions could you ask about that bird's nest? So this is really similar to what we did in the video last week. So instead of working the picture part together, I'm going to let you guys work that on your own. So it's page 10 and page 11 where you answer the questions, and we are going to move on to the story and work through that together today so that you have some practice doing that as well. So if you will turn in your packets to page 12 with me, we're going to start off by reading the story called Rabbit's Cozy Homes by Arthur Kent. So I'm going to read the story out loud to us, and then we're going to go down to page 13 and come up with some questions about the story. So I'm on page 12. Rabbit's Cozy Homes by Arthur Kent. What animal has long ears and a short, fluffy tail? A rabbit, of course. These small, furry creatures live in meadows. They also live in forests and deserts. Rabbits live in holes in the ground. A rabbit hole is called a burrow. It is used for sleeping and caring for kits, or baby rabbits. Rabbits make their homes cozy with grass, feathers, and fur. Living deep in the ground keeps rabbits safe from their enemies. Rabbits spend most of the day in their burrows. They come out at dawn, so like right when the sun is starting to rise in the morning, and dusk, right when the sun is starting to go down, to find food. On warm, sunny days, they may come out more often. You might see them sitting in your garden. And then at the bottom of the page, there's a picture of some rabbits' burrows deep down in the ground where they live. So now I'm going to be on page 13, and page 13 says, write questions about the article, then find the answers in the text. Fill in the answers in the chart. So I have drawn a chart on my board that looks just like your paper, and we have 4 question words that we're going to use to ask our questions today. So the first question word is who. We want to ask a who question about this story. So who is usually referring to the characters in this story, the people, the animals, and the talking objects. Now I'm going to think back to the story, and I don't remember any people in it, but I do definitely remember some animals in it. So my question with the word who could be, who is in the story, or who are the characters in the story? So I'm going to write that down. You can do that with me. Who is in the story? And then I'm going to put my question mark at the end. So who is in the story? My characters. There weren't any people, but there were some animals, and those animals were rabbits. So my answer would be, who is in the story? My answer is rabbits. Rabbits. Okay. Now my second question word is what. So I'm going to try to go ahead and think of some what questions in my brain, like what are the characters doing? What do they feel like? What do they look like? Those are the kind of things that I'm going to think about as I go back to the text. So I'm going to go back up to page 12, and I'm going to start on paragraph 1 and just start reading the information and see if I can think of a good what question to go on my board. So automatically on the first line, I already see a what question. It says, what animal has long ears and a short fluffy tail? So they're talking about what a rabbit looks like in that question. It has long ears. It has a short, fluffy tail. So when I write my what question, I want to talk about something different because they've already asked, what does the rabbit look like? So I'm going to keep reading and see if I can think of something else to ask. I'm going to read on the next line. It says, a rabbit, of course. These small furry creatures live in meadows. They also live in forests and deserts. Not really saying anything yet, so I'm going to go down to paragraph 2. Rabbits live in holes in the ground. A rabbit hole is called a burrow. Wait, what is a rabbit hole called? It's called a burrow. So that could be my what question. I could say, what is a rabbit hole called? Or I could flip it around and say, what is a burrow? A burrow is a rabbit hole. So I'm going to go with, what is a burrow? I'm going to write that for my what question. What is a burrow? And make sure you use your question mark. And if I go back in the story, it tells me that a rabbit hole is called a burrow. So what is a burrow? A rabbit hole. All right, 2 down, 2 to go. My next question word is where. So where is usually talking about the setting in a story. So when and where the story takes place or where the characters are in the story. So I'm going to go back to my text. I'm on page 12. And I'm going to start reading in paragraph 1 and see, can I find any information about where these rabbits are? So paragraph 1 starts out, what animal has long ears and a short fluffy tail? A rabbit, of course. That doesn't tell me where they are, so I'm going to keep reading. These small furry creatures live in meadows. They also live in forests and deserts. That tells me something about where the rabbits are. It tells me where they live. They live in meadows. They also live in forests and deserts. And they also live in holes in the ground. So for where, my where question, I could say, where do rabbits live? And then my text gives me a lot of answers that I could choose from. So where do rabbits live, with my question mark? And then I found 4 different answers in the text. So you could put all of those answers or just pick 1 or 2, depending on how much room you have. So I'm just going to pick a couple. I'm going to say they live in meadows, forests, and deserts. If I have room, I can put my last one. Meadows, forests, deserts, might have room, and holes. There. All right, my last question that I'm going to focus on is my how question. So before I go back in the text, I'm going to think about what are some how question stems, like how does something look, or how does something work, or how does something do something. So as I go back through, I'm going to think about those how question stems and see if I can find some information that goes along with them. I'm going to go ahead and start on paragraph 2 for this one because I think we've used all of the information in paragraph 1. So paragraph 2 says, rabbits live in holes in the ground. A rabbit hole is called a burrow. It is used for sleeping and caring for kits or baby rabbits. Rabbits make their homes cozy with grass, feathers, and fur. Wait, how do they make their homes cozy? Well, the text tells me that they can make their homes cozy with grass, feathers, and fur. So that could be my how question. How do rabbits make their homes cozy? They make them cozy with grass, feathers, and fur. I'm going to write that down. How do rabbits make their homes cozy? And then put my question mark. Kind of ran into my other one. That's okay. And I know from the text they can use multiple things, so I'm just going to put a couple for what I have room. You can put them all if you have room. They use grass, feathers, and fur. So grass, feathers, and fur. All right, so now we have all of our questions written down in our chart. And the last thing we're going to do is number 3. We're going to skip number 2 because it asks you to do a turn and talk, and you probably might not have someone next to you to turn and talk to. So if you want to answer number 2, it says think of a why question about this article. You could just write the question on your chart instead of having to turn and talk to someone, but we're going to focus on number 3 together with some writing. So number 3 says, write a where question about this article. Then write the key detail from the article that answers your question. Write your answer in the space on page 16. So we already have a where question. We said, where do rabbits live? And here's our information from our article. They live in meadows, forests, deserts, and holes. So your job is going to be to take this information, where do rabbits live? And the answer, and put it into complete sentences on page 16. So when you scroll down to page 16, you'll see that you have some lines, and you can use those to write your answer. All right, second grade, I am so glad that you joined me today for our second reading lesson. If you would like to hear your entire packet read out loud, you can click on the other video for lesson 1, and I'm going to read the stories and the questions. But if you feel good about it and you want to try it on your own, then you can get started right now. Hope you guys have a great week, and we'll see you soon.